From Buffalo Wild Wings in Brookings, welcome to Benchwarmers. Today's featured guests are radio play-by-play voice for South Dakota State Athletics, Tyler Merriam, Midco Sports Network football analyst, Hank McCall, two-time SDGA match play champion and Brookings businessman, Matt Einspahr, and our host, Midco Sports Network's Tom Nieman.
Hello, welcome to Buffalo Wild Wings in Brookings, South Dakota. This is Benchwarmers. We'll get to some PGA Championship talk, a little NBA stuff, some national stuff coming up later, but Brookings, South Dakota, the home of the South Dakota State University Jackrabbits. Football is on. The Jacks started camp this week, and they've had two great back-to-back seasons now, 2 9-win seasons, made the playoffs. They're picked second in the Missouri Valley this year behind North Dakota State, which I think is probably right on. What do you guys think about this?
Hey, how do you not rank the 3-time defending champs
right
first? You know, they've got a lot of players to replace, but it seems like they just keep reloading. I think the cool thing is that the expectation that the Jacks are there in the playoff hunt and seems to go up a little bit every year. It's really exciting.
There's a level of excitement with the football program that hasn't been there in the past. And Hank can even talk about that as a player when he was playing. Once Hobo Day came and gone, then you have 2,000 people in the stands. It's not that way anymore. There's an expectation to succeed, to move on to the playoffs, to go deep in the playoffs, and to get that elusive Valley Championship.
Absolutely, and it seems as if all the opportunities there this year with the dynasty to the north, for the most part, from what it looks like, things are certainly changing up there. It doesn't take long for you to walk over near Coffin Alumni Stadium and see the changes that are happening there. There's a buzz about this town and really throughout the alumni base down in Sioux Falls. I know folks are excited. The players certainly should be. A great opportunity for them. Bringing back the core of this SDSU team, the playmakers, they're coming back. They've got to be ready to make it happen in 2014.
We will talk about that really good offensive core, at least they do have coming back. But North Dakota State is going to be good. We know that. They might not dominate like they did last year and run the table and win the national championship. But why does SDSU, what do they have coming back that makes you think that they could win the Missouri Valley this year?
Well, the skill players, like he said, you look at Zenner, you look at Sumner, you look at Schneider. You certainly have a base there to build off of. Now, the line play is the big question, is that a lot of youth on both the offensive and defensive lines, some injuries there as well, in particular on the offensive side. If they can be healthy on both those lines and play well, maybe even play a little better than expected, Cole Langer needs to obviously pick it up again, great freshman year he had, then all of a sudden you have a chance to make a run at a third straight playoff trip.
Yeah, no question, but it seems every year the talent in the pool is a little bit stronger all the time, and so, yeah, a little raw there, but the talent is there. We just have to have it come through and be there, and like you said, I mean, gosh, what a treat to watch players like Zenner out there. I mean, it seems like he's been doing it forever, and he's finally just going to be a senior, but great running back, great skill position, and certainly they're leaders on the team that are going to help, bring these other kids along for sure.
You got to have playmakers, but in the end, football games are won and lost up front in the trenches, just like Tyler hit on. The guys up north, they did it the last 3 years with dominant play on the defensive line and the offensive line. Some injuries, some holes to fill, as every other team has to address. But we'll see if the Jacks have the players to make it happen.
Kind of reminds you of those old Nebraska teams. I mean, everybody knew what they were going to do. They were going to just line up and hit you in the mouth, just whether or not you could stop them or not, and nobody could. And, they're tough. I mean, you got to give them credit, but we're getting better all the time too, and that's exciting.
Let's not forget too the schedule, Tom, because the fact that they've got to go to Northern Iowa and to NDSU, they have not been overly successful in either one of those domes. They're going to have to win at least in one of those buildings if they want to move on to the postseason.
Yeah. Northern Iowa's picked third behind NDSU and SDSU, but Northern Iowa hosts both the Jacks and the Bison this year. But talk about these skill players. I think this is a great question. Is this maybe the best offensive trio at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver that the Jacks have ever had, at least in the last 30 years, with Austin Sumner coming back, Zach Zenner, 2,000-yard seasons already at running back, and then Jason Schneider, who led the Missouri Valley in catches last year. Is this the best trio that you can remember?
It's one of three for me. The other two I would throw in there in 1985. You go back to Mike Bush, who obviously played some in the National Football League as a scab, Jeff Tiefenthaler, two of only 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons in program history. And people forget in 85, Dan Sonic led the nation in rushing in Division II as a walk-on who didn't play much the first couple of games. I throw that group in, then I throw in 2008 with Ryan Berry, Jerron Harris, and Kyle Manette. Those two and this group are my 3 top trios in program history.
I'm a Brookings lifer, a Jackrabbit fan since I was a ball boy when I was 10 years old, many years ago. And, all those teams, you mentioned that. I think the fact that when you've got these guys playing at the Division I level and not only FCS level, but going and moving the ball and having success against the likes of Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, to me the level's up there a little bit. Always hard to compare eras a little bit, but that's what we do, right? I would have to put these guys at the top, and it's going to be another exciting year with them for sure.
It's very hard to compare, as just like you said. But I think one thing we could all agree on is that these 3 and the teams over the last couple of years have been some of the most exciting football teams that we've been able to watch at Kauffman Alumni Stadium. I've been around the program for just over 12 years now. I'm partial to Ryan Berry and Jerron Harris, 2008. Those guys were teammates of mine, so they've got my vote.
The humorous thing to me, you talk about whether it's Sonic, whether it's Zenner, whether it's Manette, you put them on a track, what are they, a 4.7, 40? I mean, none of those guys have flat-out speed, but you get them on the football field, and they never got caught from behind.
All right.
Ronick, you'd always hit him, and he'd fall forward.
Yes.
And people were chasing him. He was always just one step faster than the other guy. That was all it was. On paper, maybe not so great, but man, he had somebody chasing him. He was one step faster than whoever was behind him.
Isn't that amazing? Ronick still has the all-time career rushing record. Zenner would need, 2,500 yards almost this year to catch him?
Zenner could have 3 2,000-yard seasons and not be the leading rusher in program history.
Awesome. Best football player I ever played with, Josh Ronick. He was a senior my freshman year. Highlight reel is unbelievable. If you can get your hands on that, it's a good piece of tape.
He went to the CFL and they called him the Little Ball of Hate.
I think that's my favorite nickname ever. It's just awesome.
All right, but it's going to be so much fun to watch these guys, Zenner and Sumner and Schneider, and they bring back Cam Jones at tight end, who's going to make a difference this year, who was injured at the end of last season. So going to be such an exciting start. The Jackrabbits get started on August 30th with that game at Missouri. We're going to talk about what's going on campus here at South Dakota State University. They've got a Buffalo Wild Wings here. They're going to have a new football stadium in a couple of years. We'll talk about the new indoor facility here in Brookings when we come back.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. Buffalo Wild Wings here in Brookings, South Dakota, home of the Jackrabbits from South Dakota State University. And you walk around campus these days, there's cranes all over the place. They're still building things, but new dorms, and there's a lot of exciting things coming as far as the football and track programs. And is it the SJAC, the Sanford Jackrabbit Athletic Complex? What are we going to call this thing, Tyler?
We've been calling it the SAJAC around the athletic department a little bit. That's certainly an option, but it's a game changer, isn't it, boys?
No question. I mean, it's amazing that we're where we've been and where we're going for. We're now going to be at the forefront of what teams in the FCS are for facilities for all programs. And as a Brookings lifer, the things that are going around at campus and in the city, it's hard to believe. And 10 years ago, I don't think any of us would ever dreamed any of this stuff was going to take place. And now that big building's up, and next is the stadium, and it's going to be awesome.
Hey, you ended up coming here anyway, but what about this new place? Is that just a big calling card?
Well, I'll say back in 2000 when they were recruiting me, they were talking about the new stadium anyway back then, about how it was in the works. It took a little bit longer than what they expected, but no, the indoor practice facility is a game changer. There's no doubt about that. It is going. You look at the success the program has had without it. We're still able to bring kids to Brookings, South Dakota to play football over a plethora of other programs throughout the country. Having a place where, when it's 20 below outside in January, or in November when we're preparing for the playoffs, we're not outside. We're not in the middle school gym. We're going over to our massive indoor practice facility with state-of-the-art, everything that we could ever need. It's tremendous. It's going to be huge for the program, just the football program, but for the athletic department in itself.
I think it's funny you bring up that you were promised it, because I have people come up to me and say when Mike Daly was coaching in the early 90s, there were drawings and they were promised this. So it's been a long time coming. And again, the biggest thing is while it's big for football, it's big for everybody, for all 21 sports.
Well, you talk about what the football program has done. What about the track program with Rod DeHaven and the cross-country program? They've been competitive without even having a home track, and this will be big for them.
Yeah, unbelievable for them. I mean, a facility that does everything that the track program needs. That's fantastic for them, no doubt.
So now all of a sudden you have that, and then I go to other sports too. You look at baseball. The success they've had without taking a fly ball after mid-October, ground balls on tile or wood floors at 10 o'clock at night, what they're able to do, it's a huge boost to softball. And to me, the most important part of this whole facility that nobody realizes till you go through it is the hydrotherapy part of it. That is such a huge part of what can be accomplished there.
Yeah, it game changer for everybody, and I mean, I drove by it on the interstate yesterday, and I mean, it says a statement right when you're going by that, things are happening, and it's cool.
Huge for Coach DeHaven and this track program. I had an opportunity to run for Rod indoor season during the winter when we were doing winter workouts as a football program up on the Hyper, working out amongst all the other kids that are up there running, and it was just it was tough. And this is just, it's tremendous, and it speaks to where this university as a whole is going as well.
FBS turned into an arms race for a while, and it still is, and now it's dwindling down to the lower levels of Division I and all these different places that are building new arenas and whatever, and this is a continuation of it. You want to succeed, you have to have state-of-the-art facilities.
And the SJAC, the indoor facility, will be completed this fall. The football stadium headed for 2016. Coughlin alumni love it. It's been wonderful. Has there ever been a need for a football stadium more than this, though?
No question about it. We need more room for fans. I mean, look at what we're averaging for attendance where we were 10 years ago, and
more people than seats.
More people than seats. The expectations of the program, and Coughlin has outlived its useful life cycle anyway. So they had to move on and do something. And boy, look, I've seen the plans. Can't wait for them to get going. It is going to be a phenomenal facility.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, yes, there have been places I played at personally that were worse off than Coughlin.
Indiana State's not far behind
Indiana
either.
State, St. Cloud was a mess for a long time. Coughlin Alumni Stadium is our home. It always was. It has a special place in my heart under the lights at Coughlin. It doesn't get any better than that, but it's time to usher in a new era, brand new facility like what we had planned. It's unbelievable.
Harry Forsyth always tells me when that place was built, that concrete was for 50 years. They had a 50-year lifespan. Well, it's passed beyond 50 years now.
It's done. And a new press box will be nice.
Oh, we won't have to walk up Mount Coughlin anymore, Tom.
And dodge the fly strips and all that stuff up there.
The
all right.
seagulls.
It's coming. More exciting things here at South Dakota State. We'll talk some national sports when we come back. The PGA Championship is this week. Would you take Rory McIlroy against the rest of the field? And if you say no, you're probably wrong. We'll talk about that next.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers in Brookings, South Dakota. Talking about some national stuff now. Let's talk about the PGA Championship that starts this week at Valhalla outside of Louisville, Kentucky. And Rory McIlroy won this thing 2 years ago. He is smoking hot right now. How can you not take him to win this thing this week, Matty?
Well, I mean, if you're going to bet on one player, he's the very obvious choice. But I think that the PGA Tour is so deep right now. I mean, you've got Ricky Fowler. Has got a top 10 in the first three majors. He's there every week, it seems like. Adam Scott's playing great golf. Sergio Garcia, he's let the last two slip to Rory a little bit, but I mean, he can get that putter going just a little bit. He's right there. And then there's all these other young kids that Valhalla is not necessarily a bomber's paradise.
All right.
So, I mean, it's not just going to be the guys that hit 330 yards. Bob May took Tiger down the stretch in that playoff at the last one. Bob I used to play junior golf against him. He didn't hit it very far. So guys like Jim Furyk and that you don't normally think of in a major, they're right there in the mix this week.
All right, you were talking about Rory all week last week, hitting 300-yard drives consistently, but maybe that won't be as big a factor this week.
Doesn't sound like it. And Rory is a bomber. He's on fire, just like 11 straight holes, 300-plus yard drives last week, averaging 320, whatever it was, which is ridiculous. But he's fun to watch. His swing is a thing of beauty right now. Kid's in shape, primed. I'm taking Rory. I'm not putting any money on it, but I'm taking Rory.
I might.
The dude's playing.
If he's on his game, everybody else is playing for second. I mean, he's as close to seeing what Tiger Woods was doing in his prime since Tiger. and he's 25.
Yeah,
And I mean, he's just getting going. And well, trust me, I'm not betting against it.
Well, I get your point about the depth, but nobody is hotter right now, and he's just got that confidence.
No question.
Nobody else can touch him right now. And Tiger's not going to play because of the back problems, but you think he's just done, maybe? Done for the year?
I mean, you know, golf is rough, and he takes a heck of a cut at it. And, you know, that shot he hit out of the bunker on Sunday,
wasn't very smart.
20 shots back of the lead. I get as an athlete wanting to go for it, but boy, that'd have been a really good place to hit a 9-iron up the middle, take that wedge into the green, and just try and make your par and go on.
Right.
And now he's out for the PGA, probably the Ryder Cup, the whole bit, and you know, for what? But I mean, how do you tell him that, right?
Well, that's Tiger.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's Tiger. I just saw his agent came out and said that he's not for sure been ruled out of the PGA. More than likely he is. If this is something serious, they're going to have to consider shutting him down for the year. I mean, he's 38 years old. There's still 37, 38, somewhere in there. There's still plenty of time, but with all the torque, like you mentioned, you've seen his swing in slow-mo. It's a ridiculous amount of torque on a body for a really long time. He's going to have to start picking and choosing his battles, just like maybe he should have on that hole last week.
No doubt.
And he's not going to give him a run, though, anybody this weekend, even if he does play. So
You wouldn't think so.
He could barely walk off the course.
Exactly. Right. Let's talk about the baseball here quickly. The big trade was John Lester going from Boston to Oakland, and the Red Sox get Cespedes. Is this a big deal for you?
Oh, it's a huge deal for Oakland. There's only a handful of guys who are proven to be big-time starters in the postseason and can lead you to a World Series. And John Lester is one of those guys. And you look at what the A's have done, and with Cespedes, who hadn't been swinging all that well as of late, Fold comes in, and he's done the job there. I mean, I think the A's have done exactly what they needed to do. They're making a run right now. They've loaded up. They've got the horses to do it.
The coolest part to me is that here we are talking about a small market team, like the Twins, going, I mean, I'm going to root for them, absolutely. I grew up a Yankees fan, but they now represent kind of everything I don't like about baseball. But so go A's, that's awesome.
Moneyball. They're all in. They're all in. Cespedes, obviously ridiculous talent that they're willing to ship off for Lester to come in to rent him for the remainder of the season. They want to win a World Series, and he had his first start this past weekend. Was lights out. Looks like that bet might pay off.
All right, when we come back, we will go into the crowd here at Wild Wings in Brookings for our Winging It question of the week.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings in Brookings. Time for our Winging It question. For that, we go into the crowd, and here is Katie Lingle.
Thanks, Tom. All right, I'm joined by two of my former teammates at South Dakota State, Tara Heiser and Steph Pollock. Steph's got a question for our panel. Steph?
My question is, with the recent injury to Paul George, should the NBA let their players play for Team USA? And should Paul George drink more calcium?
Great question. What do you guys have to say?
All right, thanks, Katie. Thank you. Steph Pollock in the question. Everybody saw the gruesome Paul George injury, which was in basically a scrimmage for Team USA basketball. So Steph's question, should the NBA allow players to play in these international competitions?
I think they certainly should. You know, if a young man wants to go out there and represent his country, and whether it's a World Cup or an Olympic setting, whatever it may be, I think he should have the option to do that. And one thing you saw a team do, the Spurs actually told Manu Ginobili that, you can't play in the World Cup because he had an injury coming out from his exit interview that they identified, and they said we don't want you to mess that thing up any worse than it already is. But we saw what happened to Paul. But think about it. When was the last time in this sort of a setting, scrimmage or international play in general, that you saw a superstar like this go down to something like that? It's rare, right?
An anomaly, yes, but good question for some of these organizations that have a lot of money these days.
And you know, I mean, you think of how it's going to affect the Indiana Pacers, and that's brutal. But you know, I agree with you. I mean, fortunately you don't see this very often, although it's tragic. But you know, I mean, I think the pros should not be playing in events like that anyway, but that's a whole other thing. Because even all those pros that were back on the last amateur team, well, those are guys that are just about ready to get drafted and make millions too. So, you know, they're putting themselves at risk a little bit. No greater honor than representing your country. That would be the pinnacle, in my opinion. But
Well, there's two parts to it. As a business sense, an NBA team owner, you can understand why they wouldn't want them, because it's only bad things that can happen.
Right.
But of course, like Matty was saying too, you go back, 1988 was the last time pros didn't play, and the U.S. didn't win the gold. So what did they do? Well, we'll send Bird and Magic and Jordan. We're bringing this gold home, and that's when it all changed. I have no problem with going back to the amateur way.
I would like to see that actually myself.
But right, this is America, and what it comes down to is whether or not we won the gold. So if we want to win, which we do, we're sending our pros.
Wave the flag, McCall.
all
Wave
the
the
other
flag
teams
down
had
there.
pros playing anyway.
Yeah.
So
I know.
let's go get them.
All right. When we come back, got a poll question concerning if you had baseball and NASCAR and golf and Major League Soccer all on at the same time and you could only watch one. Which one would it be? We'll have that when we come back.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Our Benchwarmers poll question this week. If all four of these events were on TV at the same time, you can only watch one of them. Which one would you watch? And 58%, we had about 50 votes, 58% for Major League Baseball. Major League Soccer next in line, and the PGA Tour only gets 10%. What would you say in this question, Hank?
Major League, I'm saying soccer. I don't know if I'm saying Major League Soccer because it is what it is. English Premier League, La Liga, the best of the best. That's what I want to watch.
All right.
PGA Tour for me, just because that's my passion, but I'm glad football's back.
I'm a baseball guy, and this weekend you've got the Braves and Nationals, so it's my team against Blake Trinan, one of the former Jackrabbits.
All right, you got the Twins at Oakland. That's kind of is that a draw for anybody? No?
Oakland's good.
All right, Boston at the Angels should be a good matchup this weekend, but I'm a little bit surprised. Maybe if we said the PGA Championship,
I agree.
If it was a major, you might get more for golf.
I agree.
Right, it depends, of course. You're going to watch a major. You're going to tune in and see what's going
those are
on.
special, absolutely.
All right.
NASCAR, hey, I'm going to watch the Daytona 500, but
All
I may
right.
not catch Pocono.
We'll see you this weekend. We'll see you next week.